I just hope you understand something that I understand. And it's a horrible, horrible thing to have to confront. I understand that a lot of what's going on right now is that somebody who considered himself to be Jewish, and who, so far as I know, nobody's ever argued that he's not Jewish, thought he was going to make an example out of me because of reasons that were not forthrightly disclosed but were only implied when it came to me directly. And so the first way he tried to do this was to engage in illegal securities underwriting processes with other people with whom he was professionally associated, who, like him, actually worked in the financial sector, that provided a characterization of me as being involved in illegal activities up to and including acts of prostitution and drug abuse. And he sold the options that were set up on that to Christian Zionists, actual Christian Zionists, with an understanding that the kind of characterization of me was as somebody that they would necessarily subject to acts of profanation in an effort to do whatever they do in their specific scheme. That they knew absolutely what the different options were. And they decided they were going to make an example of me. Why? Because I wasn't Jewish by their standard. And somehow they determined that they had proven this. But the problem is that nobody took responsibility for the fact that regardless of whether or not you're actually literally Jewish, that in specific finance schemes that go back literally hundreds of years, but in the American context that I've been able to demonstrably prove, go back at least to the Civil War. They literally have a Jewish role in specific elements of the finance scheme that involves murdering people. And not just murdering people, but subjecting people to horrible persecution and using them in ways that legally constitute and otherwise constitute torture. And this goes on concurrent to other kinds of financial scenarios that go on. So, regardless of whether or not you personally are literally Jewish, you're supposed to play the role of the Jew. And the understanding is that for some Christians, some, I say, not all, it's okay. Because it's as if you are living through the rapture. It's as if you are embodying the experience of Christ. You go through the passion. You go through the torment. It's what the Ku Klux Klan did. It finds people, it chastises them, it compels them to accept that they're a dirty sinner, and it sacrifices who they were before. And when that happens, you're dead. And when you're dead, everything your life was before is somebody else's credit. And you convert upon the resurrection to whatever they've let you have. So, on one level, as long as this ritual anti Semitism is allowed to persist, I am not going to play into your heresy of allowing Jews to be murdered so that they can be converted into Christians. I'm not. I am not going to aid and abet you in promulgating a finance scheme that's also associated with human slavery, on eugenics, on torturing people into having medical conditions so they can be trafficked, on acts of forced prostitution, including child prostitution, and to horrible acts of anti-Semitism. The truth, whether or not I can prove it through a blood test, that's not relevant. Not to you. Especially to those of you who believe you can. And you need, in order for you to get legitimacy with all of the Christians you're expecting to do business with, who anticipate that somebody that has the pedigree is going to cooperate with them if they keep it confidential, that you're going to be able to pick somebody to be the sacrifice. And if you engage in enough slander, and if you engage in enough defamation, then that person is just going to accept whatever you give them. I'm not supposed to acknowledge I'm Jewish. I'm not supposed to acknowledge I'm Christian. I'm not supposed to acknowledge I'm Muslim. I'm supposed to let you underwrite my life based upon your analysis of my financial performance. The problem is, even in those regards, there are standards. there are laws you need to comply with in order to be in the position you're in, and you're not qualified. Do you understand? You're not qualified to be a Jew. You're not qualified to be a Christian. You're not qualified to be a Muslim. Unfortunately, that's how it shakes out.